This morning, Rafael has weakened from a hurricane to a tropical storm and is expected to break apart over the Gulf of Mexico. But the storm plowed through Cuba this week, knocking out the island's power grid. This year's active hurricane season is leaving coastal communities reeling from catastrophic storm surge and flooding. Now businesses and governments are focusing on innovations to protect their coasts while also sustaining marine life. Manuel Bajorca says a look at the new and unique ways communities are developing coastal resilience.
Anya Freeman says she was living her best life as a lawyer in Miami. But every time it rained, she had to race home to move her car and protect her belongings.
And I started to realize that the city had a major problem with flooding.
She also started to realize part of that problem came from the traditional seawalls in South Florida and in coastal communities across the country. Seawalls like this one are meant to protect people from storm surge and flooding, but often they can do the opposite, causing wear and tear on other areas when the waves hit the wall and the energy and water are transferred elsewhere. The realization ended up changing her life.
I left behind being a lawyer, to my parents' horror, and decided to start this company, which would come up with a solution for my city first and foremost, and then be able to scale it globally to all cities at risk.
Freeman started Kind Designs, creating the world's first 3D printed seawall.
These seawalls have the mangrove root design, which helps absorb and dissipate that wave energy.
That mangrove root design could protect property and save lives. Freeman calls them living.
What makes them living is three things. One is the concrete is non-toxic, it doesn't leach. Two, has a special texture called rugosity, which is great for oysters, sponges, coral, small organisms to attach. And three, the big idea is that all of our living seawalls mimic local marine habitats.
Further up the coast in Broward County's Wahoo Bay, seawalls look a little different now. The secluded cove north of Fort Lauderdale includes 217 sea hives, which help break up wave action. This new type of seawall infrastructure combines natural green resources and traditional gray construction. Catherine Hendrickson is the executive director.
So these are built with a type of concrete that is biophilic, meaning that it brings in and welcomes new fish and marine life.
Hendrickson says Wahoo Bay has seen a 50% increase in the number of fish species since installing the sea hives.
It's a way of taking a real-time snapshot of an environment in a way that typical science has not been able to do. And we can do it so easily and often that we can really get to see the story of what's unfolding here.
And sometimes that story comes from Mother Nature herself. Coral reefs act as a natural seawall.
Corals are sort of the infantry, if you will, of the first line of defense against storm surge and high waves.
Climate change is threatening them, so now nature is getting a boost from science at the National Coral Reef Institute at Nova Southeastern University. That's where we met Wendy Woodderer.
So this lab is really sort of like the IVF fertility clinic for baby corals.
So why do we have to do this?
What we hope to do here is grow these corals, give them some extra help, where we can replant them back on the reef to help build our coral reefs up higher, make them stronger, which will protect our coastlines.
Relying on nature's designs could be the future of coastal protection. Is the work that's done here something that can be replicated in other parts of the country, other parts of the world?
Yes, so actually coral restoration is a national priority from NOAA, and there is coral restoration going on in both the Pacific and in the Atlantic Caribbean, and globally as well.
Teams are also replicating sea hives in South Florida and discussing potential projects throughout the world. Freeman's Kind Designs has more than 50 projects in the pipeline for next year.
It's almost like a no-brainer to choose something that's more beautiful and has all of these environmental benefits.
Environmental benefits, which could make thousands of miles of coastline in Florida and across the country more resilient and better protected. For CBS Saturday Morning, Manuel Bajorquez, Dania Beach, Florida.